Well, hi, everybody. My name is Steve Neilinger. I'm the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Academy of General Dentistry. Very fortunate today to be joined by Dr. Jennifer Bell from North Carolina. She is the author of a fantastic article in our latest edition of the Keystone Explorer. I believe it's called Mastering the PPO World. So, Dr. Bell, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we dive in, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your practice like? What's your experience in the PPO world?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's nice to maybe put a face and a voice to an article, which I think personalizes it a lot better. I'm a full-time practicing dentist in North Carolina. We have two practices here. We opened our first practice in 2010. I'm in a female partnership, so we're a two-doc practice. First opened in 2010. We brought on quite a few networks. So we started to learn a lot about the processes of onboarding PPOs, and then opened our second practice in 2017. We're a hybrid practice. We have probably 15 to 20% fee for service, and then the rest is some type of indemnity or PPO plan. So we have a nice mix of our patient population.
Excellent. So I have a few questions for you. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So first question, in your article, you described the most important data for weighing various insurance contracts and fee schedules. What metrics do you feel dentists spend too much time on or put too much stock in that distract them from what's truly important? What are the shiny objects that catch way too many fish?
So if you Google or you take what insurance companies will provide, they're really quick to give you a top 10, top 20 code list for your area. And I think that's erroneous if doctors are using the thing that the insurance company gives them as, here's the top 20 codes, and it's probably going to have prophies on there, and it's probably going to have bite wings. But if you're a practice that's doing a ton of your own endo, a ton of your own removable, your own orthodontics, those top 20 codes may be completely irrelevant to the style of practice that you're running. So you want to know what your top 20 codes are. What are you producing every day? If you're a new dentist and you don't know, yeah, that's okay. You should have some idea of what you are currently good at and what you enjoy. And maybe you negotiate a little bit on some of those outliers. But most of us as established clinicians know what we do and we do well on a repeated basis. So you want to make sure those are the actual fees that you're negotiating. If you leave it up to the insurance company, they give you a demographic-based top 20 code list. That's what you're going to see. I'm sure some of your codes will be on there, but it might not be an accurate reflection of what you do as a clinician.
So a lot of clinicians distinguish themselves in certain ways by offering certain services. Know what you do a lot of, and know what you do well.
Right, and negotiate that fee, because if that is a significant portion of your production and you don't pay attention to that fee, then you're gonna see that affect your profitability.
Okay. Excellent. Question number 2. A lot of offices are hesitant and afraid to drop an insurance company because they feel that the PPO has the upper hand and won't lose much by losing its membership. Are there any thoughts to reassure dentists, or do you feel that these are particularly valid fears?
So I think they're valid fears, but let's talk through it. So I think in areas and in demographics where we have one or two major players, that's a tough market. And that makes it really difficult to consider dropping an insurance company, because it's probably going to affect a significant number of your patient population. In markets where you have more options and patients are presenting with 6 to 8 different insurance providers and you're in network with multiples, then I think that the risk is mitigated. And you can figure out, how many patients do I have in each network? I always use the example, if you were to drop, let's say you wanted to drop a company and it represented $50,000 of your production for that year, your income for the year, and you were to drop it, would you then take $50,000 and invest it in marketing? And what would that look like? If you were to take $50,000 and market your practice, I mean, you're throwing it in digital, you're in the community, you're supporting everything. Like, there's no way anyone who lives there isn't going to know who you are if you spent $50,000. That's essentially what you're doing when you sign up with an insurance company. You are agreeing to take a reduction in your price in order for them to market you to their patient population. So you have to look at your PPO participation as your marketing budget And if you could piece off, a company here and there and reapply that money or not, but it is part of your marketing budget. And so, practices that are, if I call your office and you have a 6-month wait list to get in, you should be dropping networks. You shouldn't be staying in those networks because you're really staying in as a marketing opportunity, and that's not a good investment of your dollars.
Yeah, very, very good advice. Last question. In your article, you write about the next steps of hiring a negotiator or doing it yourself. Can you describe typically, especially when you're talking about hiring negotiators, how do you like to see that process work?
So I have hired a negotiator. A lot of people ask me, do you do this on your own? I don't have the bandwidth. I'm a mom of 3 kids and running multiple practices and stuff. So to sit down and run Excel spreadsheets and figure all this data out myself doesn't quite fit into my time budget. But I can appreciate where there are some dentists who've come into dentistry who have a background in accounting or a background or they love Excel and they just want to work out all these data points. And we hopefully have equipped them with enough information that they could start to work through that process. But for me, hiring a company was the way to go. Most of the fees are pretty reasonable. A good number of them will guarantee an ROI. So they'll say, we expect to save you or bring back revenue into your office of 6x or 12x or whatever it's going to be. So here's our fee for that service. And number one, I learned so much going through that process with that company. And I think we made really good educated decisions. The thing that we as dentists will never understand is the very dark web of interconnectivity between all the different companies and how they play together. And negotiating with one company doesn't mean it's just that one company. There's an umbrella company over here and a third party participant over here. And you may inadvertently think you're doing the right thing and get yourself finagled into another. One other small tidbit on that was what we experienced. We were in network with 2 separate companies that were actually, again, didn't know, but they're actually a combined company. They operate 2 different platforms, but we went in network with the 2 different platforms. By dropping one of the networks, we automatically were enrolled into the other platform at a better fee schedule because we had 2 very different fee schedules. I would have never known that as a practicing clinician, but these companies that are talking to insurance providers all day, every day, know these nuances. They know who's buying who, how the interconnectivity works. And for me, that's where the real value of these third-party companies really come into play.
Right. And they have the time and expertise to really look into that book of business.
That's right. We're not a fax printer copier machine. We as dentists are not that. We can't be good at everything we try to do. We really need to be really good dentists and ultimately run really good businesses. So then bringing in a fax and a printer and a copier separately that are really good at doing all of those tasks independently usually will make you a more successful business owner.
Well, Dr. Bell, that's what we got. For PAGD members, pick up the Keystone Explorer. Check out Dr. Bell's article. It is fantastic. It is enlightening. And really, it's a really good first step to kind of get you to take a step back, look at your book of business, figure out what you can do, what changes you can make. Dr. Bell, any closing thoughts, anything you want to share with our audience?
You can find me on the AGD directory. I'm pretty easy to hunt down or just, on the web. So if you have follow-up questions or you're apprehensive about what you're thinking, we can talk through those processes and figure out, I don't do this for a living. I'm a dentist, so I'm happy to just support my colleagues and in particular, my AGD members.
All right. Appreciate it. Dr. Bell, thanks again. Everyone else,
Great to see ya.
Take care.